Actual.
Hey memers and streamers, it's Fracken here again, and Merry Christmas to everyone. I've actually got something interesting to share with you all for Christmas this year, and it's a new aim trainer. This is, we're still in looking at the beta version here, but we'll actually have the 1.0 release version up by probably Christmas Eve, I would think. That's our goal anyway. But it looks exactly the same as what you're looking at here. This is the entire thing here. I'll just refresh that page there. So yeah, this is kind of what it would look like. In fact, if we reset it, this is what it'll look like when you initially start Actual by itself. But anyway, so I had to make a little bit of a list here to be able to know what to cover, but let's start going through it. So what is Actual? Actual is what I call an isolation trainer, which means it isolates the active aiming from everything else, right? You're not running around a map, running and gunning, so to speak, right? So there's no left-hand involvement at all. You're just focused exclusively on the movement of the right hand, right? And so, by doing that, I mean, anytime you talk to anybody that's really good at skill building, they'll always tell you the same thing, right? When you want to build a skill, what you want to do is break it down into its subcomponents, work on those subcomponents, then kind of, glue them all back together, so to speak, and, use your fancy new skill. And that's what Actual is meant to do. It's meant to be able to allow you to focus specifically on just the movements themselves. Now, why did we do it this way? Well, there were a few different reasons. Number one, by doing it this way and making it very simple, it's an incredibly small and incredibly fast application. I actually did the math on it here a while back, and I don't have it written down, but it seems to me it was something like 150 times smaller than something like AimLab. And the startup speed is so fast that it's not even worth discussing, right? I mean, if you open a new tab, this is the literal equivalent of restarting it. And so let's just pick a new one. Bam, just like that, right? So here's another interesting aspect of this. One of the things that really, really drives me crazy with modern software is the perpetual, absolutely endless, relentless attempt at grabbing information from users, right? So it doesn't matter where you go, right? You go and turn on your PC. You need to log into the operating system. Okay, great. Well, let's play a game. Well, we got to log into Steam. Okay, great. So we start our game. Oh, look at that. That game wants another login. So we log in for that. And then you end up having another tool that you need to use for that game, like in the case of, Destiny, say something like DIM. You need another account for that, over and over. So one of our decisions right off the bat was no logins, no accounts. We are not going to be scraping user data. We're not even going to collect data in the first place. This is basically a dumb application. There's no telemetry. Once it's loaded, you can literally unplug your network connection and nothing will change. You can still continue using the trainer. Okay, so say you've decided that you want to get set up and start using Actual. What all do you have to do? Well, there's really only two different things that you need to do in order to set Actual up. And the big one is calibration. But the other one is you want to try and set your desktop refresh speed to the highest speed that you possibly can. And I want to just go down here. So I'll just do this again slower so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to Display Settings, scrolling down, Advanced Display Settings, and this tells you or gives you the option of setting the refresh rate for your actual desktop. So in my case, I've set it to 144 Hertz, which means that Actual itself will also run at 144 Hertz. So if your desktop is refreshing at 60 frames a second, Actual will run at 60. If it's refreshing at 120, it'll run at 120. Whatever it is, that's what Actual will run at. And the interesting thing for me about this is just how little CPU Actual really requires to do its thing. I've tested it as low as 800 megahertz, which is 0.8 gigahertz, and basically it felt the same as it did at almost 5 gigahertz. So now the next step, and this is, like I was saying before, absolutely the most important step, is to do a calibration for sensitivity between actual and your game itself. And I've got a video that I'm going to link. It's I think the original name of it was Cobb's 3, what the heck? Why do pro gamers measure their sensitivity or something like that? I'll link it in the description down below anyway. The reason why this is so important is the entire intent of Actual is to help you to learn to shoot open loop. And what that means is that rather than doing it visually, you're essentially shooting by feel. Now, this isn't a guess on my part. I've actually tested this. My reflex speed is about a little bit over 200 milliseconds. My fastest flick shots from the start of movement to the end are about 50 milliseconds, 30 to 50, somewhere around there, which is, you know, that's nearly 10 times faster than my eyes and brain can compute. So how is that shot landing? Well, the answer is muscle memory, right? Because I'm just not that good. I'm an old guy with bad health, you know, exceptionally poor health for that matter, you know, so, you know, basically it's not going to be, you know, reflex skill that leads to being able to land those shots. It's down to pure muscle memory. But anyway, so getting back to Actual itself here. So there's 2 modes that the trainer can be in. So you can be in edit mode, which is what we're in now, where, you know, you can place targets, make them bigger, place some more, you know, do whatever, and then save them. And then when you hit start, you go from edit mode into train mode, okay? And it'll capture your mouse when this happens. So just hit escape to get out of there. And if you want to get rid of everything that you got, just hit reset. Okay, what else? Okay, so placing targets. So let's say we're going to place some targets. Let's make them a little bit bigger, say 15 pixels in radius. And we're going to put a target here. We're going to put a target here, okay? And save that. We can shoot them. Bang, 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 bang. Now, the one thing to be aware of is that there is no zoom function in Actual. We didn't even bother with that, right? You can change the sensitivity settings yourself to affect the difference, you know, between ADS and non-ADS. But anyway, so we're going to reset that again. Now, here's where things get interesting. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to place some targets. We're going to make them a little bit smaller. But we're going to give them a target speed, okay? And actually, while we're at it, we're going to change my mouse sensitivity so it's proper. In my case, it's 0.73. Some of you might recognize that number, 0.735. Okay, so I'm going to place a target here. I'm left-clicking to place it, and I'm going to give it a destination by right-clicking. That little white dot just shows you where the destination is. Now I'm going to add another target, left-click to place the target, then go out here, right-click to place the destination. Save that. Start, and watch what happens. Every time you hit that target, it moves. Now what will happen is they will move until they hit that destination, and then they'll start moving back, right? Okay, so now let's see, okay, where were we? Right click and place targets, left click, place destinations. Okay, now say you've made a routine that you want to save. You know, you've got, you know, some routine that you've made that really seemed to twiddle your happy spots, so we're going to save that. So how would you save this? Well, the actual data itself is encoded in the URL. It's what's called URL encoding. And the reason that I did this, actually there's a few reasons. Number one, it saves us from any sort of hassles with, you know, having to deal with cookies or anything. You know, we just wanted to keep it as absolutely as simple as possible. And this is one of the simplest and most reliable ways of keeping stateful data, basically. So when you save, you know, click save here, it saves the data for whatever your scenario is to the URL. So saving this to use at a later date is as simple as bookmarking it. We're going to give it a name, new scenario. Okay, so we just bookmark that. Now let's try and open this again. Okay, so this was the bookmark scenario. And bam, there's our 2 targets, right? And I've got some various other ones here that I've bookmarked, that I've made, that I use for various things here. But yeah, so your actual URL is basically where you're storing the data. Now, if you have a friend that you say you want to create a routine for and then send it to them, you know, you can basically, let's see here, we'll just do this again, make a bunch of stuff here, whatever, save that. You can just copy that whole thing and just paste it in a message to them or whatever. The only thing that they'll have to do on the other end is they're going to have to make sure that they set their most sensitivity for whatever their particular, you know, whatever their settings are. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much everything as far as general usage. Yeah, place targets. We've talked about how to set destinations. Now, the one thing that I have to say is, you know, looking at these tools, it might seem like it's, you know, they're very simplistic, but as simplistic as they might seem, you can actually do some pretty crazy things with it. Like as an example, you'll notice that there is no option anywhere for randomness, right? But you can create randomness just by how you design your scenario. So as an example, let's say we, you know, make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. And now we're going to do something interesting. We're going to give a number for target speed that almost doesn't make sense. Say 345, okay? We're going to place a target. Well, we'll place it about there. Place the destination there. We're going to save it. Okay. Now, there's still a few bugs in this particular version. You'll notice that the menu reset itself. But anyway, the URL is encoded now and saved. So we're going to hit start. Now watch what happens. You'll notice that it looks like it's showing up in random places now. And the reason this is what's happening is the target is starting from wherever it was originally, hitting the end and then bouncing back and forth, you know, however many times, and it's kind of appearing to land in a random place. So basically, by abusing the settings in the trainer, you can do some pretty interesting things. I think that's probably everything for that. About the only thing left, I think, would be a poll to you guys, to my viewers. The one thing that we could do is create a portable version of this that you can run from a thumb drive. Realistically, even as it is right now, you could just download the various files, the index.html and the sound effects, and, you know, just run it locally. Like, you know, it's not like we're, you know, holding these files hostage or anything. But what we could do is create like a zipped up version or something. So if that's something you guys would be interested in, leave me a comment below. But I think that's it for now. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And I hope everyone has a good Christmas, and we will catch you guys all later. GG's and 7 3s.